How's it going, everyone? Jared from Yoda Expedition here. Today I'm going to be going over the Grand Teton roof rack from Sherpa Equipment Company for the 3rd gen and 2nd gen Tacomas. Like I mentioned, these are going to be for the 2nd gen and 3rd gen Tacomas. That's going to cover model years 2005 to 2023. On this, we have the double cab, which is the Grand Teton. If you have the access cab, that one is called the Teton. And then they also have the Animus, which is intended for if you have a camper shell that hangs over the cab. There's different lengths of that so that you can make it fit just perfect with what you have on the back of the truck. All options are fully made of 6160 aircraft grade aluminum, making them weather resistant and incredibly strong. This one here, being the Grand Teton, is the largest one, weighing just 45 pounds. The Grand Teton is going to have a weight limit of 400 pounds dynamic, which means when you're driving on the road or the truck's in motion, you're going to be able to keep 400 pounds worth of gear up here. When you're parked and you're at camp, you're going to be able to load 700 pounds. So if you have a rooftop tent up there, you'll be able to get in and sleep. You don't have to worry about overloading the roof rack. So there's tons of things that you can mount on your Sherpa roof rack. Sherpa themselves makes tons of accessories for mounting things like rotapacks, traction boards, tents. They make little D-rings to hook your straps to. Everything is super easy to install and it's fairly universal, so you can even attach things from other companies without any problems. So up on the truck, I have the Rome 95-liter case. Sherpa does make mounts specifically for the Rome cases, but you can also use the Rome brand case mounts if you want to switch it up. Whatever you want to use, it's going to be compatible with the roof rack. Sherpa also makes mounts to mount the traction boards. Over here, I have the Tread brand mounts. These are also compatible with the Sherpa roof rack. Like I said, it's all very universal, and anything you want to mount up there, there's going to be a way to do it. Two of the best features about this roof rack for the Tacoma from Sherpa Equipment is that it's made 100% in the USA. We love to support those companies when we can. And installation on the Tacoma is completely bolt-on. You don't have to do any drilling or modification to get it installed. But since we're talking about the installation, let's kick it over to Corey. He's going to show you how to get it done.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get this Grand Teton installed on our 3rd gen Tacoma. We have everything currently laid out on the table, so let's go ahead over there and show you everything that we have. So in front of me, we have pretty much all of the parts for this job, and behind me as well. But we're going to start off with the tooling that we're going to be using for this. You're going to need a ratchet. In our case, we have our Milwaukee electric ratchet. You're going to need a 10 and an 11 millimeter socket. And then you're gonna need a 4 millimeter Allen wrench. So either a regular Allen wrench or a socket. So that's pretty much all the tooling you're gonna need to complete this job. And then we have everything here. We have the feet, front, middle, and rear feet. We have our side rails here. These aren't side specific. We have the rubber insulators that are gonna be going underneath the feet and clamping in between the feet and your roof. And we have all the hardware here, screws, bolts, the T-nuts. We'll go over all that stuff when we go ahead and install it. And then right here we have all of our crossbars, and we have 2 different styles of front fairings here. One is going to allow you to run a light bar across the top, and then the other one is a full fairing, which is not going to work with a light bar. In this install, we're going to be using the full fairing. All right, so we're going to start with getting the feet attached to the crossbars. So we have 3 crossbars here. We have 12 T-nuts. We have the bolts that we need to attach the feet, and then we have all of our feet. So we're going to go ahead and start getting the T-nuts into these crossbars. I'll show you how that's done, and the orientation of how these feet are going to be mounted. So we're going to go ahead and install 2 T-nuts on either end of the crossbar. So you're just going to go ahead and drop it in there and then push it down until both sides lock underneath the lip. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 T-nuts on the end of all 3 of our crossbars so we can get the feet attached. All right, all 12 of the T-nuts are in, so now we're gonna go ahead and start attaching the feet. The feet are clearly labeled F for front, M for middle, and R for rear. So I have a front foot here. I'm gonna go ahead and mount it in this orientation with the wider side facing out. So we'll go ahead and get these just finger tight. That way we can still slide the feet back and forth on the crossbar. So go ahead and repeat those steps for the middle and the rear feet as well. I just want to note when we go ahead to install these on the truck, the front feet and the rear feet are both angled, so it is going to be side specific. The middle ones are flat, so it doesn't matter which orientation you mount this one. Next up, we're going to take our front fairing and we're going to mount that to the front crossbar. So you need the crossbar, your fairing, we have 6 more T-nuts here, and then we have these short button head bolts. We're going to go ahead and get the T-nuts in just like we did before, and I'll show you a tip on getting this lined up. So just take your crossbar, line it up with your front fairing, and then you can go ahead from there and you can kind of roughly get them in the right position. You're gonna have to do a little bit of fine adjustment when you go ahead and start bolting things down. All right, now we can take the fairing and place it onto the crossbar. Obviously, you want your lettering here to be the right way. So we'll get 2 of those lined up and go ahead and just get these started. So with those 2 started, now we're going to go ahead to the next ones and we'll just slide the fairing back and forth to get those lined up. All right, so with those bolts all started, now we're just going to go ahead and square up the fairing with the crossbar, making sure that it's flush on either end, and then we can go ahead and tighten these down. We're just going to snug these up. You don't have to make them super, super tight. So at this point, we have everything assembled off of the truck that we need to, so we can go ahead now and start peeling off the weather stripping on the Tacoma, and then we can go ahead and get those rails with the feet installed on the truck. So to get the weather stripping off on your roof, it's pretty simple. We're just going to go ahead and grab it from this corner here and pull up, and it'll pop off, and then we'll slowly work our way down. You're going to encounter some double-sided tape along the way, so we're going to have to go ahead and peel that. Some more double-sided tape here. And some more on the end. So we are going to have to cut the weather stripping to fit with the feet for the roof rack, but if you look in the channel here, you're going to see there's 3 sections where it looks like there might be some tape that's painted over. And inside that, you'll find 2 holes. So you have one in the front, you're gonna have one here in the middle, which is only gonna have 1 hole, and then another one here on the end that's gonna have 2 holes. So we're gonna go ahead and take a razor blade or a knife, and we're gonna cut openings for where those holes are. That's where our feet are gonna be threading in. So I'm cutting that out in a circle, just so you're not going to have any of that stuff interfering with trying to get the bolt to go in. So go ahead and clear all these out on this side, go to the other side, pull off your weather stripping, and do the same. So at this point, we can go ahead and grab the crossbars with the feet. We'll get those in place and we'll start to get those bolted down. You're also gonna need the rubber pieces. We're gonna need the longer 10mm bolts here and the bonded washers with the rubber on the bottom side to seal so you don't have any leaks. So I'm gonna start with the front crossbar. Like I said earlier, the feet are angled on the front, so you want to have them angling down towards the windshield. and that'll allow the crossbar to be level. If you have an extra set of hands, it's always better, but this can be done with one person. But we're gonna go ahead and take the rubber feet that's gonna be going underneath in between the foot for the crossbar and your roof. Now, if you look at the metal bushings inside, they do favor one side more than the other. So the skinnier side is going to be facing towards the middle of the truck. So we're gonna go ahead and get those lined up, and we can get our bolts started. Also, you can see here, all three of these are different, so it's gonna be pretty hard to get them mixed up. So we got this rubber piece here. You can see that this section here is smaller than this section right here. So we're gonna be putting that towards the inside of the truck. So we'll go ahead and get everything lined up, and we'll get our bolts started. So we can go ahead now and tighten these up. You don't want to over tighten these because then you could run into leaking issues. So what you want to look for is the rubber on the bottom of the washer. As you're tightening it down, you'll see that rubber start to squish out, and that should be your sign to stop. So we got the front bar bolted down in place. We're gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the middle and the rear, and then we can start putting on the side rails. All right, so we have all three of the crossbars with the feet mounted onto the Tacoma. Now we're gonna go ahead and take a tape measure. We're going to measure from the end of the foot here to the end of the crossbar. And we want this measurement to be the same on this side as on that side. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the middle and rear bar. So then we know everything is true. All right, so we got all the crossbars evened up on both sides. They are gonna be different from the front, middle, and rear. None of the measurements were the same, but just make sure that this side is the same as that side. All right, so now we're ready to go ahead and start putting the side rails on. So we're gonna grab one of those, and then we're gonna grab some of the longer button head bolts. So we're gonna go ahead and line up this slot here with the very front bar that we put on. And we'll get one of those started. And we'll go ahead and get one of these started as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these cross rail bolts in here. And I'm just gonna make these finger tight because we are going to want to be able to slide this back and forth to get it aligned perfectly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finger tighten all these. All right, we got these 6 bolts started for this side rail. We're gonna go ahead and get the other side started, and then we can go ahead and start putting the other crossbars in, and we can get our front fairing installed as well. So we got all the bolts on the side started, and then we went ahead and we put the crossbar in all the way in the back because we want to make sure we have clearance with the shark fin antenna. So currently we have the rear crossbar all the way back in the slots, and then the side rails, we have those pushed back all the way as well. So that seems to be about where we're going to leave it, and that gives us about a 1/4 inch, if that, of room between our crossbar and the shark fin. All right, so we got the rear crossbar where we want it, so we went ahead and tightened that down for good. We have 2 more crossbars over there, so we're gonna put one right here and our last one right here. And then once we have those bolts started, we'll go ahead and tighten down all of the cross rails. So depending on if you already have stuff to put on your roof rack, you're gonna wanna lay these out to accommodate mounting those things. But if not, we're just gonna go ahead and evenly space all the rails out. So we got all the crossbars installed. Before we go ahead and put the front fairing on, we're gonna get the weather stripping put back into place. This isn't necessary to put back on, but if you do wanna put this back on, you're gonna have to cut it so that it goes around all of the feet. So you're technically gonna have a short piece here, another piece here, another piece here, and then a short piece in the back. And I would cut off this double-sided tape that was originally on there, put some new stuff on, so you know it's not gonna be going anywhere. When putting the weather stripping up here to mark your cuts, just line the back up here, because if you line up the front like that, then you'll be way off back here. So I'm gonna go ahead now and cut this. There is metal inside of here, so I'm probably not gonna be able to get the whole thing cut with this, but I at least wanna get a nice clean cut on the top edge, and then I'll use a different style cutter to cut through the metal. Okay, that worked. So we have it all cut now. You have your front piece, your front foot, another piece, your middle foot, another piece, your rear foot. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put some double-sided tape on all of these just to make sure that they're not gonna go anywhere. According to Sherpa, these pieces will be fine without double-sided tape, but we're just gonna go ahead and do it anyway because there was double-sided tape on there to begin with. I'm gonna go ahead now and get this installed. Just make sure you keep, your driver's side strip with the right side. You don't want to mix them up because they are different. Perfect. All right, so we got all these seals reinstalled. Jared's grabbing the front fairing. We're gonna go ahead and get that installed. So what we're gonna do with this is just make it so that the bottom is flush. Like I mentioned earlier, there is a fairing for the light bar option, so that is going to be shorter. And then that's gonna allow you to mount a 40-inch light bar to the front of your very front crossbar. So we got the front fairing installed. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure everything's good and tight. And that's gonna complete this install. All right guys, that's gonna wrap up this install of the Grand Teton on the 3rd Gen Tacoma. Now you can go ahead and mount all sorts of different things on your roof. Sherpa has so many different accessories and options that you can add on to your roof rack. We have a bunch of different videos of us installing things on our 4Runner. I'll put some links in the description so you can watch those. But if you wanna pick one of these up, you can click the link in the description, head over to yodaexpedition.com and grab one for your Tacoma. If you have any questions on this install, make sure to ask us down below in the comments, and thanks for watching.